Alrighty, we are back, and I am so excited. It took every ounce of willpower. I immediately set up and streamed this game last night when it dropped, because it dropped about 11 o'clock my time. But I had work today, and I really wanted to play. But I was a good little quote-unquote kaiju, and I chose to wait until today. Well, yeah, I'm not gonna do any preamble. I'm very excited. I've been waiting for this basically since I finished the first trilogy on stream all those forever ago, back when I first started streaming. And it is time to do more. I have a little bit of preamble. I have beaten Apollo Justice, because I did buy all 3 games on 3DS before the eShop closed down, because at that time there was no guarantee of this happening. So I went ahead and got all 3 on 3DS. I have beaten Apollo Justice and played through part of Dual Destinies. I haven't touched Spirit of Justice. So I've played about a third of the way through this trilogy, roughly. And it's been so long that I don't remember a whole lot beyond, like, general plot points. But this is a kind of, sort of, mostly blind run of this trilogy. But I'm excited. Let's get into it. Oh, so you can just go right into the new game. You can go right into any of them, but I ain't about that. We're doing this. Turnabout Trump. Man. I seem to be in a bit of trouble. Something like that. Dead. Someone hit him. Hard. Me? Please. The cop should be here any minute. I'm in your hands. Should have come to that. April 20th, 9:37 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby number 3. Just a second. Just a second. Just sending a message real quick. Panicked, palms sweaty, mom spaghetti. I can admit it, I'm nervous. Good morning. Good morning, sir. You look tense, Justice. Wound up tight. Wound up, sir? No, I'm loose. I'm fine. That screeching noise. That's your voice? Supposed to be expected. First trial, and it's a homicide. Hold up. I'm fine. Just a little bit. I got up at 5 a.m. to do my Chords of Steel voice workout. I'm fine. Ah, that explains it. I did detect a certain rasping quality to your speech. I overdid it again. As you know, that your client today is a good friend of mine. I wouldn't want to let him down, if you get my drift. Ominous! Here, there we go. Drift gotten, sir. I'm all over that drift. As it happened, I dined with it in the night of the murder. Can't let this case fall through. Yes, I'm fine, sir. One more thing. Don't say you're fine quite so much. People might take you the wrong way. I'll be preparing our case. You might want to introduce yourself to the client. My name is Apollo Justice. If it isn't clear already, I'm a new attorney. Today is my first trial. Not that I'm worried or anything. The defendant has been accused of murder. My boss wants to help him out, and of course, so do I. I mean, there's no way he did it. Not him. No way! Is it? Whoa. Good, morning. Morning. It's all up to you today. First trial, nervous. Meeting him, cardiac arrest. Huh, this guy looks awfully familiar. I think I'm supposed to say something. Help! Listen, I am you in this situation. I don't know what to tell you, bud. So, you're... Fine. I'm fine. Mr. Fine, is it? I did remember you having an odd name. Well, we're off to a great start. Are you sure you're... are you sure you're okay? I mean, with me? Mr. Gavin is a top-notch defense attorney. And he's your friend. So why? You'll see. You can do it. Be confident. I'm really sorry this happened to you. It's time. Shall we? Yes, sir. Okay, I need to focus. First trial. Here comes justice. The court is now in session. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Payne, what is that haircut? To quote one of my favorite YouTubers, Wambu, Payne has a terrifying haircut. He may not be the killer this time, but someday. Oh, what the? What the? The defense is, fine. I mean, ready, Your Honor. Mind going blank. Don't panic. Too late.
Your name was Mr. Justice, and this is your first trial?
Something about the art style of this one that looks different from the other Ace trilogy. Like, it's almost got like a painterly look to it. Like, they're almost like... feels like there might just be the resolution I have it to where I can actually see my chat and everything, but... Yes, Your Honor. But I'm fine. Really.
Are you quite sure? Your voice sounds a bit strange. Mr. Gavin?
Yes, Your Honor.
I was under the impression you would be heading up this case.
That was my intention, yes. However, a defense attorney must always see to his client's wishes. My client specifically requested Mr. Justice.
Well, of course he wants justice. But to entrust his case to this greenhorn, why? I do not exaggerate when I say that you're the best defense attorney in town, Mr. Gavin.
Okay, so Gavin's got trial experience, fine. But does he have cords of steel?
Then let's begin. The defendant may enter the courtroom. This is truly an unfortunate turn of events. I'm sorry that we had to meet again under these circumstances. Long time no see, Mr. Wright.
It's Hobo Phoenix! Not gonna lie. Rocking that scruff. He kinda looks good with the scruff. Let's put the past behind us, shall we? These days, I'm merely Phoenix Wright, piano player.
Mr. Wright, how could this have happened?
I won't speak of it further, then. The prosecution would be so kind as to explain the charges, Mr. Payne.
To think I saw you enter this room as a fresh attorney, and now I'll see you leave in chains.
Winston Payne. Subtle as ever, I see.
Ahem. The crime occurred at the Borscht Bowl Club, a Russian restaurant. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, took the victim, a customer, and he hit him, wham, on the head, smack, killed him cold.
A customer at a restaurant, you say? And the defendant, you say he was?
A pianist for the club, it seems.
Phoenix Wright? A pianist?
And this is the weapon that took the victim's life, a bottle of grape juice.
Grape juice.
Grape juice is apparently your defendant's drink of choice.
Okay, I believe that. Okay, hearing that it's...
The court accepts the deadly bottle as evidence.
Grape juice. This bottle used as the murder weapon. Print bears defendant Mr. Wright's prints. Let's quickly look at that court record. So the attorney's badge, Smith's autopsy. Name, Shoddy Smith. Age, unknown, male. Estimated time of death, April 17th, between 1:45 a.m. and 2:15 a.m. Cause of death, cerebral hemorrhaging resulting from blunt trauma to the forehead. Okay. Noted. Noted. Something to note, Justice. All evidence is filed within the court record. Make a practice of checking it frequently.
Court record. Right, I've heard of that.
Use the E key to look at the evidence so far. I'm confident in your ability to handle this.
Right, just use E. Sounds like it's time for some hands-on action.
Or you could just click it like I did.
So the victim was a customer at this restaurant. Who is this, Shoddy Smith fellow?
We believe he was a traveler, Your Honor.
A traveler?
According to his passport, he had been out of the country for a number of years. He had only returned to this country recently, though his place of residence is unclear.
And he had some sort of connection with the defendant?
That, too, is unclear at present, Your Honor. We believe they first met at the Borscht Bowl Club on the night of the crime.
They had only just met, then why murder? Perhaps the victim slighted the defendant's piano playing?
That doesn't appear to have been the case. No, the motive it had nothing to do with the defendant's lack of playing skill. At least not piano playing. Let this photo explain what I mean. Oh yes, the photo we just looked at. As we can see, a game of poker was in progress at the scene of the crime.
Wait a second. Isn't poker gambling? That's a crime in and of itself.
Indeed, it appears our defendant has become the basest sort of criminal.
It is true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim. Yet it was only that, a game in the purest sense. A competition, Your Honor.
A competition?
Yes, a test of wits. A silent clash of passions. Only the cards with their backs wreathed in blue flames know the final outcome. Come again?
The cards on the table had blue backs, Your Honor. I believe the defense was waxing poetic in an attempt to mystify those present. And impress women.
That will be our first order of business here, then. To find out more about this fatal game of cards. Very well, defendant. You will testify to the court about the poker competition held the night of the crime.
My pleasure. This is it. My first trial. Here goes nothing. The competition. Ooh. Playing on 3DS while also doing other things, I didn't really get to appreciate the soundtrack, so this is going to be real nice.
I am a pianist by trade, yet I can hardly play at all. My real job is to take on interested customers over at the poker table. The room where we play and the competition in there are the club's main attractions. The rules are simple. We play a game of poker using 2 decks of cards. That's all it is, a game, and our customers are happy. A pianist who can't play piano.
Better than a defense attorney who can't defend.
I mean, you're a prosecutor who can't prosecute, so what does that make you?
Very well, the defense may begin the cross-examination.
Right, Your Honor. My first cross-examination. Don't blow it.
Are you alright? You're sweating bullets.
Bullets? Where?
It's a figure of speech, Justice. Your voice sounds strained and raspy, too.
Your brain feels strained and raspy, sir.
You've watched me perform cross-examinations many times. You've never done one yourself, have you? Care for a refresher?
I could do.
Let's go ahead. It's been a while since I played one of these games.
Better safe than sorry, especially this early in the game. Haha!
See what they did there?
Yes, teach me. I know nothing.
Indeed. Your job, Justice, is to be mindful of the court record and the testimony. Look for inconsistencies in the testimony with what the court record tells you. Then, when you found an inconsistency, that's when you present the conflicting evidence from the court record with ease.
I didn't hear anything strange at all in the testimony just now.
A good sign that you need to press the witness with Q for more information.
Press him?
Don't let the fact that he is a remarkable man and hold you back. Get more information.
But isn't Mr. Wright my client?
Well, think you can do it?
Yes, thank you, sir. I think I can do it.
I think you'd better, or we're going to have a problem. Just remember, find any inconsistencies, any lies in the testimony, and reveal them to the court. That is cross-examination. Learn it, know it, do it.
Inconsistencies, lies. Or inconsistencies, lies? Phoenix Wright? As if. Phoenix Wright would never lie. and it's up to me to prove it. Huh. I get the feeling Phoenix is about to lie a bit.
The defense may begin the cross-examination.
You can hardly play?
I play sometimes when customers demand it. So I play them one song. It's usually all they want.
Is that supposed to be a boast just now?
The title of pianist is a mask. A respectable face I wear for the world at large. Why are you really at the Borstal Club?
Let's just start pressing.
They pay you just to play poker?
That would seem to be the case. I'm a professional after all.
Do I detect pride in that statement? It's hard for an honest, hard-working member of society like me to imagine.
Yes, your imagination was always a bit limited, Winston.
I love Phoenix.
What?
I played poker for 7 years in that little room. And then, I've never lost. And I've never lost once. What? See why the customers come now? Defeat the undefeated poker champion. Quite a draw. That is, I'm quite a draw.
Wait, you've never lost once? Not even one time?
As I said, I'm a professional.
Played poker for 7 years and not lost once.
So Phoenix has been out of the game for 7 years. Jeez Louise.
Is that even possible?
Yeah, something about that is a little odd.
The room in the crime scene photo is an attraction?
It has quite a history, actually.
It has his papa on it.
Borstal Club used to be a gathering spot for black market types back in the day.
Black market?
On the best. Things like the black market are only on the silver screen nowadays.
That's not true.
Well, I guess it has been at least 7 years. Because during Trials and Tribulations, there was that dude, Tigre, who killed that guy over the computer virus that was going to make mint on the black market.
Suffice it to say that there were a lot of deals being made under the table. Right there in that room. Smoky room, gambling hoods, you know. Just looking at this picture makes me feel bad.
The bosses gather around the table, cutting deals safe from the eyes of the law. Meanwhile, a goon keeps watch through the small window. Practically, you picture it now.
Window does look like it would be good for keeping a lookout, but little else.
I've had a few other tricks to it, though it's common knowledge to our regulars. At any rate, they come to play poker in a room steeped in history. Despite the dark past, it was all just good, clean fun.
Two decks of cards.
Simple measure to prevent cheating. If you alternate 2 decks, no one can slip in cards.
There's something else I noticed.
In addition to the cards on the table, there are some lying scattered on the floor. Precisely, the cards on the table, and cards upon the floor, each forming a complete deck. Crime scene painted blue by a sad sweep of cards. It's poetic, really. Incidentally, we use 2 types of cards at the club. One deck of cards is red, the other blue.
As I recall, in poker you make 5 card hands. I can see how it would be easy to cheat. Yes, a game of hands. This competition you're talking about. I believe the court understands the nature of the game sufficiently. That's right. It's a simple game, after all. Are you sure?
Huh?
People are not murdered over simple games, Mr. Justice. Defendant, you were in the room at the very moment the crime occurred, but you claim no connection to the crime.
That's strange.
What's strange?
I was testing about the competition that night. Asking me about the crime at this point. Against the rules, Your Honor. Of course, I expected to hear the cry of objection from the defense. I completely let that one slip by.
Don't despair yet, Justice.
Sir?
Right, there's something I'd like to make clear. Namely, your connection to the case at hand, and I'd like to hear it from you.
Sure, why not?
Very well. The defendant will amend his testimony.
Just one little press. I've gotten myself a whole new testimony? I plead silence regarding the murder, but I will say I never touched the murder. Silence?
The defendant has the right to refuse to testify.
I haven't forgotten and everything about the law. But why? That clearly put you at a disadvantage. And it's your job to turn that around in our favor, yes? Great. Like I didn't have enough to do already.
Justice, didn't you detect something odd about that testimony?
Huh? Wait, something you said did ring a little strangely. Just one thing. What was it?
When you figure it out, I'd suggest presenting evidence. Evidence that contradicts the testimony.
Contradiction in Wright's testimony, but why? Better check the court record. Can't imagine Mr. Wright lying in a testimony.
Isn't it a little early to be jumping to conclusions? This is your first cross-examination. Take it slow. If you need more information, don't forget to press.
Right, I got it. I'm fine. Time to listen to that testimony again.
Let's get...
Because he never touched the murder weapon, but the murder weapon has his fingerprints on it. There we go. Opening objection for having presented evidence during your first cross-examination. So you say you didn't touch the murder weapon, this grape juice bottle, right?
So I said. Something the matter, Mr. Justice?
Oh, I hate it.
Too bad our new defense attorney learned how to play dumb.
What's this, Mr. Payne?
I examined the bottle in question, you see, and it was covered with the defendant's fingerprints.
Objection!
No need to shout, Mr. Justice. I can hear you just fine.
Excess yelling and can damage the judge's ears, and in our case... But my cords of steel... Anyway... What's so strange about... fingerprint is on a bottle in a restaurant?
Oh, that's true. The prints alone.
Oh, they wouldn't prove a thing if they were normal fingerprints.
Huh? But if the fingerprints on the murder weapon were upside down...
Upside down? What's that mean?
It means he was holding the bottle inverted, and there can only be one reason for that. Yes. To brain someone with the bottle.
The face! Mr. Gavin, I think things just took a turn for the worst.
Oh? I see no problem, Justice.
Huh?
The only thing that matters is the truth. It's a good reason for everything. You'll see. Defendant, can you explain your fingerprints on this bottle for the court?
I stand by my plea of silence regarding the murder. For now.
Not very cooperative, are you? This could hurt your case.
I'm sure he's uncooperative because he's hiding something. There must be some reason.
Objection!
Your Honor, you seem to have forgotten something. What might that be, Mr. Gavin?
And the night of the crime, who was it that reported the murder to the police?
Reported?
Well, that was the defendant, Mr. Wright. But still, that...
Really?
Yes, well, according to the case file. The murder was reported from the... near the scene by a call from the defendant's cell phone.
Near the scene?
Let's take a look at the diagram of the murder scene, shall we? The victim was murdered in a small room in a basement 2 floors down from ground level. Of course, cell phones can't get reception so far down. The defendant used the stairs in this hallway to go above the ground. The call came from the first floor of the restaurant.
I see. And this phone... and this is the phone that made the call?
My cell phone added to the court record. The defendant could have just fled the scene of the crime if he chose, and yet he fulfilled his duty as a citizen and reported it to the authorities. And you claim he's being uncooperative? Nice save, Mr. Gavin. Better not waste this. I think the prosecution has toyed with our client enough for the time being.
Toyed? I assure you there is no one more serious about...
What was it you said? The defendant was in the room the very moment that the crime occurred? How can you possibly know this?
That's a good question. How indeed?
The answer is simple, Your Honor. The prosecution has a decisive witness.
You're as good as they say you are.
So someone else was in the room the night of the crime. Yes, I can take a sip. Get some sip. That's good. Just got me a tub of the dragon fruit punch gamer subs. That's pretty good. I like that. That must mean they witnessed the crime. Everything up to now has just been a warm-up, not justice. Are you ready?
Very well. The prosecution may call its first witness to the stand.
Oh, she's so cute.
The witness will state her name and profession.
Hold on just a moment. Where's the witness?
I surmise that she's been frightened by the defense's demonic-looking horns.
So we use a little hair gel. Relax, people.
I have no fear. If any horns point in your direction, this court will cut them off.
You are sure? It is Russian voice.
I swear it on my gavel.
Please come out. Isn't violence against your hair a crime, Your Honor?
Well, if you're sure, then it is okay.
Now, the prosecution.
Wait a minute. What the prosecution had to explain the witness's paraphernalia.
Yes. She's a professional, Your Honor. These are merely the tools of her trade.
And that would be?
My name is Orca Orly. I am employed as waitress in Borscht Bowl restaurant. Portable Club restaurant. Russian. It is Russian voice. Trying to make that sound clear.
Then why the camera?
Of course, it is my pride to serve a borscht that is naming restaurant. But I also perform how it is you say, or how it is said, other service.
I take it one of these other services is taking customers' pictures.
Da. Like for example, this one.
That's the defendant.
Indeed, on the night of the murder. Man in white hat, he is one who has gone kaput.
Indeed, that is the victim. Order. This is quite a piece of evidence to casually drop into our laps.
It is same way as I drop cold balls of borscht on laps of customers, casually.
And the court will casually accept this new evidence. Olga's photo. I also just... Hold on. Let me just...
Jeez Louise, there's like snow, like built up indoors.
This looks like a horrible restaurant to try and, like, exist in, frankly.
Now, witness, where were you at the time of the murder? I was in the room, the hideout we call it.
Excuse me? The hideout?
It is the room where famous gangster bad guy was arrested. It is the room where murder took place.
What?
Your look of utter surprise. It is lovely. I will post my courtroom tour for later for you. Da. Photos will be numbered and you will write which ones you want a copy of.
So there were 3 people in the room at the time of the crime. The victim, Shoddy Smith, Mr. Wright, and Olga Orley, our witness. If Mr. Wright isn't the killer, then that means...
Very well, witness. You will testify to the court about that night's events.
That fateful night.
That night, customer asked me to deal cards for a game. It was called Both Players Play with Hats on, da. The victim, he plays all time with hand on locket at his neck. And then, last hand is done. But something terrible has happened, da. That man flew at the victim and is strangling him to death.
That's not true. That's impossible.
Incidentally, who won the game?
Isn't it obvious? The winner was the victim, Mr. Smith.
That's ridiculous. Because Mr. Wright can't lose. Justice, maybe you can come up with a more legitimate objection. But he hadn't lost in 7 years.
Take it from me, kid. It happens. I didn't lose a case my first 7 years as a prosecutor either. Incidentally, I have some evidence here. These are the poker chips as they lay the very moment of the crime. The hand and the chips belong to the defendant, and Mr. Wright. Those on the far side belong to the victim, Mr. Smith.
Chips, you say?
Yes. Imagine that poker is war. Your hand is your army, and the chips are the spoils.
I knew that. After all, in my youth, I was known as the poker head of courtroom number 3.
I don't believe you, judgy. I think he means the poker face.
Looking at this photo, it does appear that most of the chips are on the victim's side of the table. Very well. The defense may cross-examine the witness.
There's something I'm gonna present pretty immediately. Yeah.
Objection!
Oh, really? Strangled, you say? That's odd. Normal customers only choke on borscht. No, I mean this report shows that the victim died of a blow to the head. Mrs. Orley, really now? Did you witness the crime? I like that animation. That's fun.
Looking at the picture, it doesn't seem like he was hit. He's still wearing his hat and everything.
Yet it is a fact that he was hit, Your Honor. Here's a photo of the victim with his hat off during our investigation.
Well, that is quite shocking, isn't it? His head certainly was hit.
Couldn't get some colored photographs?
But I have seen it happen. Defendant, he lunged victim. His neck.
Oh, really, Miss Orley? I think I've caught you in your own lie this time. Justice, I admire your enthusiasm. But perhaps you should think this through once more. What do you mean? I found a contradiction. There's one thing in her testimony that troubles me.
Very well. Seems we should continue the cross-examination.
Is there such a thing as thinking too much? This horse is dead. Let's stop beating it. There's such a thing as thinking aloud too much, too.
Hold it!
It's already April. How could it be cold?
At the Borschtball Club, we have pride in authentic
We have pride on authentic rustic Russian restaurant theme.
Outside, it is city in spring. But inside, it is as cold as, always as cold as Mother Russia.
Why am I going there?
When it comes to hot borscht, cold is best seasoning, da.
Hold it!
His locket?
I believe it was good luck charm, da. He gripped it many times as he played that night.
Yes, he must have hit not as they might carry him to the moon and the stars. Though if it was small enough to fit around his neck, it wouldn't have much to lift.
The defense would like clarification. This is a locket we're talking about? I mean, a pendant with a picture in it, right? Not a rocket.
Of course, I do that. It's probably a pendant shaped like a rocket. That's why she called it that.
No, a locket's a locket. It's considered bad form to poke fun at the hard of hearing in our society. Hard of hearing or hard of understanding.
So, what happened next?
No locket. Okay, yeah, there is a locket there. I feel like I need to present on that one. Because you don't see. Let's try this.
Objection!
You know, there was one curious part in her testimony, just like Mr. Gavin said. What does it mean?
Mr. Justice? Would you care to explain what you're thinking so intensely about?
Recalling the testimony, Your Honor. The victim played with his hand on a locket at his neck, I believe she said.
I hope you aren't about to raise an objection on the witness's grammar.
No, but look at this photograph. Every time you do, it makes me laugh. Do you see a locket around the victim's neck?
Well done, Justice. I'm impressed.
I knew you'd be able to handle this. But what does that mean?
If we are to believe this as the witness's testimony as is, the locket disappeared following the victim's death.
Lockets don't just disappear, Your Honor.
Quite simple when you think about it. If the locket is gone, someone must have taken it off now.
Taken it off? Wait, you don't mean...
The defendant wasn't strangling the victim at all. He was taking off his locket. Wouldn't that explain it? Oh! Defendant, what do you have to say to this? Say? Yeah? I just noticed this, but you have something hanging around your neck, don't you? Ah, in this? Yes, the locket. With a photograph inside. A photo of my daughter.
Ah. Come again?
Mr. Wright, you have a daughter?
We confirmed it at the time of the arrest. The picture in the locket is indeed Mr. Wright's daughter.
So Mr. Wright has a locket too? Why don't I buy that this is just a coincidence?
Well now, the results of the poker game led to murder. Perhaps we should hear a bit about more of the outcome of the game.
And now we know why he's got Papa written on his hat.
Further testimony won't really be necessary. It's clear the defendant lost. Badly.
Miss Orley, you will testify to the court about the game played between the victim and the defendant.
Serious competition.
The game began with 3,500 points in chips for each man. House chips come in two sizes, small and large. One who was winning, it was victim. For last hand, defendant played with all chips on table and loose. Moment of loss was decided. Defendant grabs bottle from table and...
Indeed, looking at this picture, it does seem to be a one-sided game.
As the court knows, poker was the defendant's life. Failure must have been a bitter pill to swallow.
How many times have I heard these words? I done it in a fit of anger, Your Honor. A common tale, but true.
I don't know why every so often it auto-plays. He thinks the judge watches too many old court movies. Mr. Wright said he hasn't lost in 7 years, so this testimony must be wrong.
Hold it!
Start pressing. Are those the usual starting points? Were any special rules used?
No, not special. Usual game, usual rules.
Each man began with 3,500 points, then the total would be exactly 7,000 points.
this isn't calculus. It's not even long division.
Hold it!
Are the chips in this photo all the chips that were used?
Da! Of course.
Something's fishy with these chips. Yeah, we're gonna press harder. You could explain a bit about these chips.
Explain? What is there to be explained? Poker chips are poker chips. They're not fish and chips, not a chip off the old block, not a motorcycle cop.
Oh, well.
Thanks.
Not a question. I better ask something. What are these chips worth? Are they in dollars or rubles even?
Yet, as I've been saying before, it was game, not gambling. Hard perhaps for capitalists to understand. Two types of chips. 100-point chips and 1,000-point chips. It is not money, da?
Justice, sir, don't you find her comments interesting? In more ways than one, sir. I'd have it added to her testimony, me myself.
Well, does the witness to add to her testimony?
Yes. Yes, I do think this deserves further scrutiny. Add it to the testimony. I wish I knew where I was going with this.
Very well, witness, if you would be so kind.
Your Honor.
Get a look at this. So, theoretically, there's not enough of the... Yeah. There isn't enough of the small chips for those to be the smaller amount. These big chips have to be the 100 ones. Because there's 6 things. So that would actually be a case that Phoenix is winning here. Because he's got 4,100, whereas this guy's only got just under 3,000, I think. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. Yeah.
Hold it!
This testimony is important. To be honest, I have no idea why.
Mr. Justice, do the court a favor and think of what you want to say before raising your hand. We are not in kindergarten.
Sorry. Fine. We're gonna do something ask quick. The 2 types of chips.
Da?
The small ones are 100 and the big one's 1,000. Right? Right, of course.
Huh. Don't waste our time.
Is that all?
Yeah. Wait, Mr. Kevin, any stopper, and now I'm the one who looks dumb.
Oh, Justice, please try not to embarrass me like that.
Huh? Who? Me?
There's a clear contradiction in the information you have in your hands.
What?
It's a simple matter of calculation. Go on, try it.
We're not in kindergarten, after all.
Calculation? I'm gonna try and present this here.
Objection!
You're sure it was the victim who won? Absolutely sure?
It seems our new attorney is a bit confused. A glance at the picture is enough to tell you who won. If you're not in kindergarten.
Just for safety's sake, could you explain the problem to the court?
Of course, Your Honor. In this photo, I see small chips and I see large chips. Tell me, which were worth 1,000 points?
Why, the big ones, of course. Duh.
Oh, I thought so too. But then the totals don't add up.
The totals? Let's review.
Let's review what the witness told us. Each man started with 3,500 points in chips. And the combined total value of the chips was 7,000 points.
Yes, if my calculations are correct. Let's see. 3 plus 1 carry the 5.
They are, Your Honor. Now, look at this photo that allegedly shows all the chips. If the big chips are worth 1,000 points and the small chips are worth 100, and you add them up,
How much is it?
count yourself. You weren't in kindergarten, were you? 10,600 points. The chips don't add up. This clearly contradicts the witness's testimony.
But why? How could this be?
Exactly, Justice. Now that you know the what, you must determine the why. Right, there's only one possible way to explain the contradiction. Both were right. Each man began in the game with 3,500 points. If all the chips are indeed shown in this photograph, then there can be only one answer.
Well, what is it?
The value of the chips was the other way around.
What?
Want to know what I think? The small chips were worth 1,000 points, not the big ones.
Madness! Utter madness!
Show me that photograph of the chips again.
There are 6 small chips and 10 large chips.
Why, that does make 7,000 points when you add them up.
Excellent work, Justice. It's almost as though you figured it out by yourself. I'm just glad I was the one who said it.
But wait! The value of the chips may be different, but that changes nothing.
Indeed, the victim did have the larger number of chips still.
Oh! Exactly. If the small chips are 1,000 points and the large chips are 100, let's do a little math and add up the points for each side of the table.
Oh.
The victim was just,
4,000 points.
well now, seems that Mr. Wright was winning that night after all.
That's impossible.
My client had even less reason to kill the victim. After all, he was winning.
Yow.
Now, Miss Orley, you must have known the true value of the chips, since you were there at the scene of the crime. Weren't you?
Order!
It appears our defendant has lost his motive, and Mr. Wright's supposed defeat never happened. Oh, well.
Excuse me? What is it, Miss Orley?
I did not want to be saying this, but actually you see her. See what, Miss Orley? What do we see? In the last hand, there was cheat. A cheat? You don't mean a trick?
Wait, what do you mean? A scam?
They're all the same thing.
Yes, there was cheat in the last hand. This is why games with ends with chips as they are.
Great. Just great. First we have lying and cheating. Oh, this case certainly has taken a turn. For the interesting.
Witness, you will please testify to the court. Tell us about this cheating in the final hand.
Gosh, so far this might be the best, opening trial I have played so far. I already like this one more than Dual Destinies. Which isn't bad, mind you. Sorry, I thought I saw something floating in my gamer subs. Might have just been a bubble. There we go. Anyways. I also haven't done Spirit of Justices yet, obviously.
The last hand, both men had full house. There is 4 of each card in deck, from ace to king. If you look at both men's hand, the cheat is more obvious. The next moment, the game becomes argument, The defendant's trick was exposed. He put bottle in his hand for Mr. Smith.
Miss Orley, why did you not tell the court about this from the very beginning? God, I smell the cover up here. Well, folks, it's time to throw back the covers.
Full House is a very high-scoring hand. Not easy to make in my experience.
That alone is enough to suspect less than scrupulous tactics.
Mr. Gavin? What's a full house?
Lawyers these days, you don't know your poker?
Sure, because those two professions are absolutely, yeah. If you don't know your poker, are you truly a lawyer?
I can't say this bodes well for your case, or career.
What is this, some kind of secret court poker ring? Justice? The terms one pair, two pair, and three of a kind, yes? Yeah, no problem. Two cards with the same number makes a pair, three makes three of a kind.
Good. Now picture a hand with one pair, and one three of a kind.
That's a full house.
It doesn't sound very easy to make, does it? You can see each player's hand in this photo.
They both have full houses.
We forget, there's an easy way to make a full house and go undefeated for 7 years. You cheat?
The defense may cross-examine the witness.
If he did cheat in the last hand, that leaves one important question. Mr. Wright lost with that hand. Who's ever heard of a professional con man losing when they cheat? Figure out, because it's like, I feel like with the full houses that they have, it wouldn't be impossible. It'd be highly improbable, but it's 3 kings and 2 aces and 3 sevens and 2 aces.
Hold it!
I gotta press that one. How was it clear?
Well, the defendant. He played the 5th ace.
A 5th ace?
I still remember both hands well. Mr. Wright's too. Obviously. Wait, that makes sense.
But they both have 2 aces.
Obviously, cheating was afoot, or should I say, a hand.
Your Honor, perhaps this can be added to the testimony without Mr. Payne's joke.
Very well. The witness will add this detail to her testimony, please.
That's not true. That's not true at all.
Objection!
It appears the witness is mistaken.
Mistaken? But my name is...
Look, this piece of evidence clearly contradicts what you said in your testimony.
That's the photo of the chips, is it not?
Justice, perhaps you ought to explain your point in a way that the judge can comprehend. In other words, use your finger to point out your point.
Yes, please point the contradiction in this photo. What particular point contradicts the witness's testimony?
Take that!
Miss Orley, in your testimony, you made the following claim. Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces. But as you can clearly see, the victim's hand only held 2 aces.
Well, maybe the witness was simply confused. Perhaps it was the defendant's hand that held the 3rd ace in question.
You have eyeballs beneath those glasses? Take another look at the evidence. As you can see, the defendant also has 2 aces in his hand, Exactly. I don't see where this would be a cheat. Just highly, highly unlikely. Where's the 5th ace? I see cheating alright, and it's going on right here in this courtroom.
Two aces in each player's hand. Does make 4 aces total. Hardly proof of cheating.
Wait, please. It is true. I have seen it. The 5th ace. There was cheating, I swear to you.
That's odd. She must be lying. She's been in the most, or she's the most sincere I've seen her all day. You're right to trust your instincts. Mr. Gavin? Who knows what lies in store for us in the trial ahead? Your Honor, if I may, I have a suggestion.
What might that be, Mr. Gavin?
You don't mind. Perhaps we might examine the actual cards.
The cards?
Mr. Payne?
Yes?
Player's hands that night were set as evidence, were they not? The defense would like to request that the cards be shown to the court.
Very well. The prosecution will submit this evidence. Which will you examine? The victim's cards or the defendant's cards?
These cards don't prove cheating was going on. Nothing will. Which of these hands is more suspicious? Go with the victims. It's the victim's hand that was changed over the court. Over the course of the witness's testimony. The defense requests time to examine Mr. Smith's cards.
Very well, Mr. Payne, if you would.
Very well.
Well, time's a-wasting. Get to it, Justice.
Yes, sir.
When examining evidence, be sure to view it from all sides and angles. Try using the arrow keys and turn it every which way. Okay, let's do this. Can you tell... Wait a second. Can you tell that this was a Nintendo DS game? What? Your Honor, look at this. One of the victim's cards. The back is a different color.
That's impossible. I put the card in my hand.
What was that, Miss Orley?
No, yet, I merely said it.
Your Honor?
Mr. Gavin, yes?
Tell me, what is the easiest way to cheat at poker?
Cheat?
I'll tell you. One merely needs a friend. A comrade, shall we say. The dealer.
Oh!
Wait, so you mean... this witness, Miss Orley? She's the cheater. A professional, I'd wager.
Yeah.
Order! Order!
Focus, Justice. Time to take advantage of her... of her mistake. Oh, Apollo. Your Honor, please recall the testimony we just heard.
That's impossible. I put the card in right hand.
Ergo, Miss Olga Orley conspired to cheat. Not with my client, but with the victim, Mr. Shoddy Smith. I'm just gonna bop. This pursuit theme is a bop. Not only did she cheated poorly. Therefore, not hard to imagine an altercation between her and the victim.
What?
What does he not mean? The defense isn't accusing the witness, Miss Olga Orley, are you?
Time for justice. There were 3 people in the room at the time of the incident, and if Mr. Wright isn't guilty, that means I am. The defense accuses the witness, Miss Olga Orley, of murder.
Mr. Payne, what is your witness, Miss Olga Orley?
It appears that she has lost consciousness, Your Honor.
Mr. Justice?
Your Honor?
Seems you've presented a new possibility to the court. One suggesting a connection between the witness and the victim, Mr. Smith.
And that means?
This court cannot pronounce a verdict for the defendant at this time.
What?
I did it. I held out.
I see no point in prolonging the trial this day. The prosecution will need to make further...
Objection!
Hi, Sam Riegel. Mr. Wright? Can't end the trial here, Your Honor. Not yet.
What nonsense is the defendant spewing now?
Think. One of the cards had a different colored back. Don't you wonder what that means?
What are you talking about, Mr. Wright? Raising objections right when you're about to get off the hook? Ridiculous.
Mr. Payne, you of all people should know, Mr. Wright has a talent for the ridiculous.
He's not wrong there.
Perhaps we should get to the bottom of things. Let's clear up the facts about the game that fateful night.
As was said before, we alternated between 2 decks of cards that night.
That was said before.
2 decks at the club have different colored backs, blue and red. 1 color per deck. Why use different colored backs? If we use the same color, the 2 decks might get mixed. If we use different colors and they still got mixed up. We used the red deck for the last game.
I see, but that's odd. For some reason, I have this impression you were using the blue cards.
Yeah, me too. I'm sure someone said something about blue cards.
Whatever. In the end, one card and with the wrong color got added into the mix, which means there was cheating.
Yes, a card slipped into the deck. It would seem to indicate cheating. This card raises 2 serious questions. Apollo? Yes? Let's consider the first question, shall we? Think. In the last game, when was the card swapped? When? There are 3 broad possibilities here. Could have been swapped before the murder, during the murder, or after the murder.
Well,
Yeah, hiccup there.
yeah. Thanks for the news bulletin, Mr. Wright.
Oh? It might be as simple as you think, Mr. Payne. Or it might not be. I'd like to hear what Apollo thinks first. When do you think the cards were swapped? When was the card swapped in the deck? I mean, I feel like there'd be no way for them to notice during the game, because that'd be a really obvious change. Like, Phoenix would just see that the dude has a blue-backed card in his hand, so I'm gonna say after. Perhaps it happened after the murder?
What's that? Ridiculous. What's the point of cheating after the hands have been shown? That's silly.
Yes, but tell me, how do you swap cards during the game? I'll take silly over impossible.
To take it from me, son, There's a lot of silly in this world, but very little impossible.
No, even if the backs of the cards are a different color. If you pulled that during the game, you'd be caught in no time. Oh, quite true. That would mean the blue card in question was swapped after the hands were shown. After the murder.
Okay, this is going past silly and straight on to crazy. Again, I ask, what's the point of cheating after the game's over? Who would do that?
Who indeed? That's one of the mysteries before us.
But there's another one?
Yes, a simple yet decisive question must be asked. Who swapped the red card for a blue card? Who? The game, the murder, and the game and murder is done. The victim is dead. Only two remain in the room. Alive, that is. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, and our witness, Olga Orley. Okay. Say someone else. I think someone else did it. Doesn't make sense for Phoenix. Doesn't really make sense for Olga. The one who swapped the cards wasn't Mr. Wright, of course. And well, it doesn't seem like it could have been Olga Orley either.
What are you suggesting?
That's hardly a logical conclusion, I'll admit. As the defense, I think it only makes sense for you to name Miss Orley at this point. Yes, I know. But she was the one who dealt the cards, right? I just can't believe she would make the mistake of swapping the wrong color card.
And if the card was swapped in the game, it'd be obvious. Something you'd like to share with the court, Mr. Wright?
My apologies, Your Honor. I was just thinking how much fun all this is.
Fun? How much confusing. I've no idea what the defense is claiming, Your Honor. If the one who swapped the card wasn't the defendant and wasn't Miss Orley, then who was it?
Yeah, well, that's the question, isn't it? Precisely. Huh? I believe we're about to see this case take a new direction.
A new direction?
We'll find that out. Indeed, after the murder, someone swapped the cards in the victim's hand. And someone made two critical mistakes. I'm sure you're going to tell us the first was swapping the wrong color card. Because the one who did it swap didn't know two colors of cards were being used. The other mistake was the number on the card. Right. The person replaced the fifth ace with a king. I'm sure whoever swapped it wasn't expecting there to be a fifth ace after all. All they knew was that the game had been won with a full house. But they picked up a king from the table and swapped it in.
But there's one problem. According to our case record, this person doesn't exist.
True, not until now. But you have to admit the possibility of a fourth person. That was more than a possibility. There was someone else there at that night at the scene of the crime.
What?
Gotta drink my sups. I believe the judge spoke truthfully earlier. You do make trials ridiculous, Mr. Wright.
This trial has proceeded on one central assumption. Namely, that at the time of the incident, there were only 3 people in that room.
I believe this new evidence, shall we say, overturns that assumption.
The problem is that you choose to conceal this information from the court.
Suppose that is a problem, yes? Man. Along with that beard, you grew some loose morals there, Phoenix.
Court is adjourned for a brief recess. Mr. Gavin, I'll see you in my chambers during this recess.
Certainly, Your Honor.
Very well. The trial will resume in 20 minutes.
April 20th, 11:52 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 3.
That was quite unexpected, Mr. Wright. Suddenly clean.
Oh, DJ with the hydrate. Gonna hydrate with my gamer sups. My dragon fruit punch.
To suddenly claim that there was another person at the scene of the crime like that. I must ask, is it the truth?
Guess we shall find out.
Oh no. I think you would know the answer to that. Ah, being mysterious, are we? Sadly, I have no time for mysteries. I'd only ask you leave the defending into your defense in the future. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee the outcome. I see you haven't mellowed out one bit, Kristoff. Justice?
Yes, sir.
Judge has summoned me to his chambers, so carry on without me. You did well, Apollo.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
That locket you wear, is that really yours, Mr. Wright?
Ah, you're wondering about the victim's disappearing locket. Here, you can take a look at it. It's a picture of my daughter in there.
Little tiny Choosie. I'm just surprised dear you had a daughter.
Most people are. Perhaps you'll meet her one of these days.
Probably in the next trial. One more question. The one who cheated that night, was it you?
What do you think?
Huh?
You know what happened 7 years ago. What I did. It's not unreasonable for you to think I might cheat.
I never, honest, but it is odd that he managed to go undefeated for 7 whole years.
Wanna know something? There's only one game where you can be dealt bad cards all night and still win. Poker.
Huh?
See, poker is all about reading your opponent. That way, it's a lot like a court case.
Poker is like trial law?
Figure out what your opponent is thinking, and you win.
Yeah, well, that's harder than it sounds.
I think not. Try as they might to conceal it, everyone reveals their true thoughts in the end. Their body language can become a valuable source of information.
You're kidding.
That witness, for instance, Miss Orley. She would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice?
No. Come on, who noticed that?
Words, habits, twitches, it's all information for the reading. That's the secret to winning, Apollo. Someone taught me, and now I pass the secret on to you.
But I'm not worthy. I mean, there's no way I'll pick up on these signals.
No, you can do it.
Huh?
You just don't know it yet.
What's he talking about?
But you will, soon. I almost forgot. One more thing, about this case. You should know. I haven't told the truth to anyone yet.
What?
I knew it. I have my reasons, of course. All shall be revealed. Apollo, I need you to be there, defending me. I'll need your power.
My, power? I had no idea that my cords of steel were that special.
It's time. The real trial begins now. Do your best.
Thank you, Mr. Hobo Man. Yep, next chapter. We are seeing this trial through to the end tonight. April 20th, 12:14 p.m. District Court, room number 2.
Court will now reconvene. As our witness, Miss Olga Orley required.
Yes, Your Honor. Well, she's regained consciousness.
Perhaps we can hear her version of the events again.
That's the thing. You see, she's quite fatigued.
You're looking a bit fatigued yourself, Mr. Payne.
Sadly, fatigue is insufficient grounds for refusing to testify or prosecute. The defense would like to request that Miss Orley take the stand.
Very well, the witness will take the stand.
Perhaps you could repeat your name and profession? Or perhaps you'd rather admit that you're a poor liar and a poorer loser. Not.
Name's Olga Orley. That's the truth. I'm a pro dealer. People call me Olga Quick Fingers Orley.
Oh, really?
Want to know something else? I'm not really Russian. And my last name sounds like O'Reilly. There, that's the truth. Hope you're satisfied. I am a pirate.
Witness, you will tell the court what you were really up to that night.
Fine, we'll talk. We had a plan, see? She's a swashbuckling pirate.
This will remind you that you are currently under oath. Any further fabrications will have serious consequences.
Fine.
I really like this character design, I will say.
Like I said, I'm a pro. That guy Smith hired me to do what I do best.
I was planted at the Borscht Bowl Club several days prior to the night of the game. As a waitress. You were in cahoots with the victim? Not that he needed my help. Smith's a well-known poker player in some circles. But winning wasn't the main purpose of this game. I'm destroying a legend. The unbeatable Phoenix Wright. Plan was simple, elegant really. You see, we set up a trap of sorts. I was to plant a card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When their hands were revealed, Smith would call them out and search Wright, then pull out the planted card and the trap would snap shut. You swapped the cards? Exposed the cheater and losing on top of it? Would have made a great double play. Just like that, the legend would be dashed to pieces.
Indeed. Getting caught red-handed cheating cashed out on this prior wins.
A 7-year legend, destroyed by one little card. That was the plan. Oh really? Only how droll. But it appears you've made quite the mistake.
A mistake?
I agree, the trap was elegant. Yet what happened to that planted card? Hey, that's right. He's lucky, I'll give him that. You'd have to be able to slip free from a trap laid by Olga Quick Fingers Orley.
Oh, really? The witness would be much cuter if she dispensed with the evil mastermind stick.
Cute? Who wants to be cute? I'm not cute, I'm bad. You hear me? Bad.
Then, when you're through being bad, perhaps you could testify to the court. Tell us about this trap and how it was sprung.
Witness testimony. The best laid traps. That night, I planted a card like I was supposed to. Right, ain't lost the last hand. Just like he was supposed to. Then, Smith searched him. But the planted card was gone. The trap failed. Next moment, Wright picked up a bottle and swung it. It wasn't me who hit Smith. It was that no good cheating defendant. Pretty much. It's just like, listen, you are on a witness stand right now. You don't need to be bad.
Surprisingly frank testimony that still leaves us mostly in the dark.
Trap was perfect, I tell you. Perfect. That rotten cheater hadn't messed it up. Look who's talking.
Well, the testimony, for what it's worth, is all yours, Mr. Justice.
Witnesses like her, who needs criminals? And the defendants, Mr. Wright. Yeah, defendants like Mr. Wright, who needs prosecutors?
Hold it!
So, everything went according to plan. Exactly. The fifth ace came up, so it was obvious the switch had went off without a hitch. Once the extra card was found in his pocket, Wright would be forever known as a cheat and a fraud.
The worst things to be known as, I suppose.
Hold it!
Just keep pressing. Oh, time to stretch. The card disappeared? My trump card. The 5 of hearts. Gone without a trace. Poof, zippo. We searched every nook and cranny. Even inside his cute little hat. But the card was nowhere to be found, is that correct? Never in my long storied career has quick fingers orally been so readily duped.
Oh really? What happened to that 5 of hearts?
Don't look at me. Why don't you ask that cheating, in line, two-faced defendant? The 5 of hearts is still missing in action. Nothing you can really discern. One would assume that's what she means. I mean, Phoenix is the one with the perfect record. She's not claiming to have one. Let me ask, how's your eyesight? Just who do you think you're talking to? You don't call me quick fingers for nothing. Mind you, listen, she's the one and who keeps calling, you know, Phoenix a no-good lying cheating no-good lying cheater when her whole job is to help people cheat at poker, so. I'm a pro, which means my dealing's pro, and my eyesight is pro.
Honestly, she'd have to be blind as a bat to miss something like that in such a small room.
Yeah, but Mr. Wright didn't have a motive to hit the victim. Different personality, but the same testimony. I
believe you have her where you want her, Justice. The circumstances have changed, yet her testimony is not. That means there's gotta be a contradiction anywhere, somewhere in there. Quite. That night I planted the card like I was supposed to. Let's press this. Wait, isn't that a little odd? What's odd? You searched Mr. Wright, thoroughly, and found nothing. Which means he didn't cheat. Which means he had no reason to strike the victim. Well... What was that just now? I sensed something. Something wrong, Mr. Justice? No, nothing, Your Honor. Could do. Should I press her a little harder? Yeah. Miss Orley, you're hiding something. What are you talking about? Me? Quick fingers Orley?
The defense will refrain from baseless accusations.
I have one question for the witness, then. You say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is this true? Of course it's true. I did see it, honest. I saw it when Wright hit him. With my own eyes, I saw it. It's a weird vibe I'm getting. That witness, for instance, Miss Orley. She would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Notice? Touching her neck. Was it? Look, what's going on? The sensation. It's coming into focus. There, the twitch. It's so clear. It's like I could perceive her habit, and like I couldn't before.
Gotcha!
Miss Orley, perhaps you're unaware of this yourself. Unaware of what? Whenever you get to a certain part of your testimony, touch the back of your neck with your left hand. My neck? So what? What indeed, Justice? I hadn't noticed anything of the sort. When she says that part of the testimony, she's subconsciously recalling something. Her body reacts to the memory and she touches her neck. I'm sure of it.
A memory? Why would someone... Would someone care to explain what he's babbling about?
This is highly unusual. Let's ask the defense. You claim the defense is remembering something. Maybe you have evidence of this memory to show us? Her habit is scratching the back of the neck whenever she talks about the crime. So what would remind her of the moment of the crime? Miss Orley, whenever you recall the crime in that night, you scratch your neck. I've noticed it happens when you think about the moment of the crime. There must be some reason behind this habit of yours. I assume... that. Whenever she talks about the moment of the crime, she touches her neck. And what reminds us more of that moment than this bottle... Oh, the murder weapon. But something doesn't fit. If you were the only witness to the crime, why would that make you touch your neck like you're in pain?
What's he talking about now?
It was Mr. Smith, the victim, who was hit, not you.
This is a cross-examination, not a cross-wild conjecture. The witness's habits are completely irrelevant.
Justice, I'll admit I'm a bit confused myself. This is certainly a unique cross-examination. I'll explain later, just trust me. Now's our only chance to break her. Miss Orley, please testify in detail about the moment of the crime. The very moment.
Yet, I am knowing nothing.
We know you're not Russian. The witness will testify. Please. Now. Fine.
Oh, that don't track.
Objection!
He had to leave the room so that he could do the phone call.
Miss Orley, we have a record here that clearly contradicts what you said. States the police were alerted by a report from the defendant. And we know the defendant left the room and climbed the stairs and made the phone call from the first floor of the Borscht Bowl Club. So, explain how you kept your eyes on the defendant when he left the room entirely. The man who picked up that bottle and swung on it that night was the defendant. I love the way this is presented. The almost like storyboard look. You dirty cheat. Check his pockets now. It's gone. The card's gone. You lose. Ooh, what's this? Just then Mr. Smith grabbed the bottle from next to right, and he hit me. You? Some master of cheating you turned out to be. When I came to, the victim was already dead. Oh. The victim was already dead, is that it? That's why I couldn't reveal who I really was. If it came out that I was in league with Smith, I'd be a suspect for sure. Well, where does this leave us?
But madness! This is madness! I'm dreaming. It must have been me who was hit with a bottle, and I'm imagining all of this.
It appears our prosecution is at his wit's end, and frankly, I can't blame him. Mr. Gavin, what do you think about this turn of events? Mr. Gavin?
Mr. Gavin, sir?
I believe that, as the defendants in this case, we are compelled to call Orley, and Miss Orley, a big fat liar. What? 3 were in the room on the night of the murder. The defendant, the victim, and her. And she has a motive. A motive? The plot foiled, the witness got into an argument with her client, Mr. Smith. And the denouement of that argument was murder. What? I didn't. I'm no killer. It's a trap. Someone's trying to frame me. What tangled webs we weave when we practice to deceive. So tangled, we catch ourselves in the process. Mr. Wright? Such a hasty conclusion. It's not like you, Christoph. Or it's not like you, Christoph Gavin. What are you saying? Why not consider the other possibility? That there was another person in the room at the time of the murder. Right, like Mr. Wright was saying before recess. A single card was swapped in the victim's hand after the murder. And the one who swapped the card didn't know 2 colors of cards were being used. A fourth person.
Ha! This theory again. Your fourth person doesn't exist.
Indeed. That's why I decided to bring this case to court. Here, where no one can escape, and there's no chance for deception. Tell that to Manfred von Karma. The perfect place to catch the real criminal. The real criminal? And we're in luck. A clue to the real criminal's identity was kindly provided for us. Right at the beginning of the trial, no less.
What?
Apollo, perhaps you know what I'm talking about.
Sorry.
Remember what I said? The fourth person who swapped the card made one critical error. He or she wasn't considering the color on the backs of the cards. Right. How could such an obvious mistake occur? The cards used for the last game were red. Yet there was one person here, in our court, who thought that those cards were blue. Yeah, I had that impression too. But why? Well, Apollo, think you can figure out who it was?
It's not me, I swear.
Who was this fourth person? I don't always get put on the spot like this. Let's hear what the defense has to say. Who was it? Who thought the cards used in the final game were blue? That'd be one Christoph Gavin. Yeah, he's training.
Take that!
As I expected, your eyes and ears are as sharp as your hair. I was right. Christoph Gavin, you were the fourth person that night. But of course Mr. Gavin knows the color of the cards. How would he? As you can see, the photo of this crime scene is black and white. You can't tell which of the cards are blue. The ones on the floor, the ones on the table. But look! You can see the colors in this photo. Yes. But when he said the cards were blue, it was well before this evidence came to light. It's true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim. Yet it was only that, a game in the purest sense. A competition, Your Honor.
A competition?
Yes, a test of wits. A silent clash of passions. Only the cards, their backs wreathed in blue flame, know its final outcome. Well, Christoph? Mr. Gavin? Mr. Gavin? Is something the matter? No, nothing. Excuse me, it was just so sudden. Right, you aren't seriously accusing me, are you? No, Christoph. You know even I'd never take a joke this far.
This has gone beyond ridiculous, beyond dumb. This is insanity. The defendant is accusing his own defense attorney of murder?
I assure you, I'm quite sane. Seriously, Payne, that haircut, you're the only one whose sanity I'm questioning in this courtroom.
But what possible connection could Mr. Gavin have put up to the victim?
I wasn't aware that I had a connection to Mr. Smith either.
Yes, but Mr. Gavin and then the victim have never even met.
Well, what if they have?
Huh?
There is a possibility, after all. They may have met that night before the game started. What are you suggesting?
Is this the truth Mr. Wright was staying silent about? Well, only one thing to do. Mr. Wright?
Objection!
Nope. The defense would like to request no such thing. Mr. Gavin? Testimonies must relate to the case. How could that happen? And before the game... Listen, to quote one of, I made this quote at the start of the stream, and I'm gonna make it again. And one of my favorite YouTube creators is a guy named Wambu, who did a top 5 of his favorite Ace Attorney cases, and this one was on the list. And he makes the remark of, and Payne has a terrifying haircut. He may not be the killer this time, but one day. Yeah, fully agree. How could anything happening before that game of poker be related? Yes, it's very true.
I'm not sure I follow, Mr. Gavin.
As I explained before, the defense believes that Miss Orley...
Am I to assume you speak for Mr. Justice in this? He is the defense, not you. Mr. Justice, the matter of Mr. Wright's testimony is up to you.
Okay.
Does the court, in your opinion, need to hear Mr. Wright's testimony?
We're hearing that testimony. This was Mr. Wright's strategy. He was planning this all along. I know the judge can be a bit of a butt monkey sometimes, but I really like seeing him, like, put his foot down, as it were, on points like that. I like serious judge. He's cool. And I intend to see it through. The defense would like to request that Mr. Wright testify to the court. If to Justice,
You would betray me, your teacher?
Sorry, Mr. Gavin. This isn't about loyalty. This is about the truth.
Very well. The defendant, Mr. Wright, will take the stand, please.
Appetite before murder. That evening, Christoph and I had dinner. Sat at the table in this photograph. Shotty Smith walked in 5 minutes after Christoph left. Then, the trap failed. Smith hit the witness. The girl was knocked out cold and Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. That's when I made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin.
Mr. Gavin? You were at the Borscht Bowl Club the night of the murder.
I dine with him rather frequently.
And he talked to the defendant on the phone directly after the murder?
Quite against my will, I had become involved in a murder. Thought I might be in need of a lawyer, so I called him.
You were planning this all along, weren't you, Wright?
Just because you wanted
to drag me into your little murder trial.
The only thing I want is the truth. As I did back then, and now.
I thought my office was doing you a favor when we took your defense. It appears I was wrong. Very well, the defense may cross-examine the witness.
Justice? Sir? He's lying, and you're going to expose him. Understood, sir. Mr. Gavin versus Mr. Wright. This can't end well. Why can't I have a normal trial? You are about to get it embroiled with one Phoenix Wright, or you have already been embroiled. You are not going to have a normal trial for as long as you have that badge pinned to your collar. Sorry, not sorry. You are going to have to deal with prosecutors that attack you with falcons and crazy, like, spirit seances and everything, and even more crazy stuff about your past. I am sorry, Apollo. You don't deserve this. Yes, very much so. This is the most normal any of your trials will get, Apollo. Especially the fourth case of this game that has you jumping through time, essentially, to gain all of the information. Yes, I will be using a guide when it gets to that point. That was really annoying on my first run on the 3DS. Oh. Are you thinking maybe about the first trial of the next game? Oh, yeah. Mind you, Phoenix was the one and you're in control over that one, but yeah. Or I guess Athena? It's Phoenix and Athena, I think, for that one. Because he's being an edgy bitch for that one, I think. He's not actually involved in that one. I got as far as case 2 in that game. So yeah, Apollo's not even involved in that one because yeah. Yeah, because that one's Athena and Phoenix. Because that's the case that shows off Phoenix or Athena's little doohickey that lets her read emotions. Technically, yeah. Because he was caught up in the bombing. Yeah. Listen, that's also the one trial in this game that's not a murder. Mind you, people could have died, but it wasn't figuring, like, no, or actually, no, never mind. There was one person who died, I forget. Yeah, there was, like, I think, like, a security lady or something, but, yeah, that's right. We'll get there. We'll get there. That's 4 trials away from here. You had dinner with Mr. Gavin? Yes, he dines with me at the Borscht Bowl Club quite frequently. We're enjoying our usual dinner at the usual spot, as usual. I always eat at the table closest to the piano. I see. Where Mr. Smith was sitting.
So the plates and such on the table were from your dinner?
Indeed, which reminds me the remnants of my meal with Kristoff. We dined for 2 hours, then Kristoff left. After that... Let's just press for now. 5 minutes? So the two of them could have passed in the restaurant during that time. That would have been a fateful encounter, to be sure.
Oh, Mr. Wright, what was it you said? Christoph Gavin and Shot Eddie Smith may have met?
I believe I did say that.
Here I was all nervous about this meeting, and now we hear they just passed in the hall?
That does seem over weak as a pretense of murder. Oh, it would be, if that were really what happened. Come on, Mr. Wright. What are you hiding this time? Got this failed trap. This is the same trap that Miss Olga Orley mentioned. The plan was simple, elegant really.
You see, we set up a trap of sorts. I was to plant a card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When their hands were revealed, Smith would call him out and search Wright. I would pull out the planted card, and the trap would snap shut. Just like that, the legend would be dashed to pieces.
Yes, a harmless prank in essence. It was by a quirk of fate that I happened to discover it.
A quirk?
I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found a card.
The card she planted?
Yes, snuck a peek at it and found it was the 5 of hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card before the game.
Disposed? Why?
There was an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle.
An empty bottle of grape juice.
The murder weapon? Yes, I rolled it up and shoved it in the... The colored glass makes it hard to see.
A battle of wits between the deceiver and the would-be deceived. Sounds like terrific drama.
A card inside the murder weapon. That's strange. Did the police miss it in their investigation? I'll take a look.
Mr. Wright, the poker head of courtroom number 3 approves this battle of wits. Please revise your testimony with this new information.
I don't see a... Huh.
Objection!
Your Honor, what do you think? Oh, well, I think Well, whoops. Hold on. I gotta present something. There we go. This bottle is completely empty. There we go. Just had to find the right... There we go.
Objection!
Mr. Wright, if I may. Yes? I've examined the bottle and I don't see any card in here. No?
What? Mr. Wright?
Surely ... isn't all you have to say for yourself. Can't say that I know what happened to the card. I did put it in that bottle, however. Huh. Perhaps a 5th person came and took it out. Oh, and a 6th person could have helped.
Mr. Gavin? Mr. Wright is your client.
My apologies, Your Honor.
I won't have you disparaging our investigation either. We looked inside that bottle. There was nothing.
What's going on? Is Mr. Wright hoodwinking us again? Did the card just disappear?
In any case, please continue your cross-examination. I'm afraid decisive contradictions call for decisive evidence.
Oh. Push him harder, Justice. Break him. It's just you and the witness in the ring. Go for the KO. Why do I get the feeling we're not on our client's side anymore? let's... He did put his hat on. I would imply that Phoenix was the one who put his hat on? I don't know.
Objection!
Let's see this real quick. There we go. Okay, got that one right. Mr. Wright, if I may. Oop. Yes. Take a look at this photograph of the crime scene. See the victim here? He's wearing a hat. I wouldn't think you could see blood on his forehead. Good point. Justice, next time you point out an inconsistency, put a little more oomph into it.
Mr. Wright, can you explain this to the court?
Forgot to mention something. I was the one who put the hat on his head. Huh?
You?
The hat on the dead man's head?
You weren't through our entire poker game. Calling the police when I returned to the scene, and his head was in full view. Shining bright, just like in this photograph. Picked up the hat off the floor, put it on his head.
Why would you do such a thing like that?
All I can say is, sorry. It's the only thing I touched at the crime scene.
So, Miss Orley didn't see it?
It being the victim's, or his head. I think not. She was out cold. I believe I was the only one who witnessed his head. Here we go again.
Mr. Gavin?
Pardon? Seems that our client is determined to lie his way through this case.
Hey, he's still our client, isn't he?
I believe that's enough of that.
Mr. Gavin?
This witness's testimony is more like a travesty. It's riddled with lies. I'm beginning to see how you came to lose your attorney's badge 7 years ago. Well, you certainly have a unique way of treating your clients, Kristoff. I never knew. I believe it was you who threw the first stone.
Mr. Wright, if you intend to ever tell the truth about this case, it's now or never.
Don't be misled. I haven't told a single lie here.
Huh?
When I noticed the trap, I put the card in the bottle to dispose of it. Oh, yeah. I mean, even the judge was like, "Oh, a drama." And when I put a hat on the victim's head, let's just say I had a reason for doing that as well.
A reason?
That reason is right here.
Your cell phone?
At night, recall that I spoke with the defense attorney Gavin after calling the police. Just in case, I recorded our conversation. What's this? Now that we're all here, I see no reason why I shouldn't play it back for the court. Kristoff, I seem to be in a bit of trouble. What's this? Game not going well? Something like that. That gentleman who challenged you, he turned out to be good? He turned out to be dead. Someone hit him. Hard. You mean someone cracked that flawless bone china pate? It wasn't you, was it? Me? Please. The cop should be here any minute. I'm in your hands. Should it come to that. Bone china plate? Wait. What was that? Got a little bit of a typo here, Capcom. Might, kind of porcelain. Very smooth and shiny. Oh, okay, never mind. And not plate, but pate. Never mind, we're good.
I believe he was referring to a certain gentleman's balding forehead. Listen, it's been forever since I played Apollo Justice. I don't remember the, Never mind. The court appreciates the defendant's discretion in not indicating my forehead. Wait a second. Something's not right about that phone call. So after Mr. Gavin ate dinner with you, he left the Borscht Bowl Club. Oh, certainly. Then how did he know? When did he see this bone china pate? Oh, that's right. Yes. That's when I began to see my good friend in a different light. Troubled, I returned to the crime scene. That's when I spotted Mr. Smith's head again. I realized it is exactly what was wrong. Well, Mr. Gavin, the stage has been set. Perhaps you would like to explain this to the court. Exactly how did you come by your privileged knowledge of the victim's head? So, this is your reason? The reason why you put the victim's hat back on? Your point, Mr. Gavin? It's come down to this, has it, Phoenix Wright? Order! I will have order, Mr. Payne.
Yes, Your Honor.
I believe this court has been left with no other choice. Are you prepared to hear defense attorney Gavin's testimony?
As prosecutor,
Very well. We'll break for 10 minutes. After which Mr. Gavin will take the stand for cross-examination. Are we all clear on that? Crystal clear, Your Honor. Very well. This will be the final recess for the day. District Court, Defendant Lobby, number 3. Mr. Gavin and Mr. Wright are both in the judge's chamber. I would have thought the day would turn out like this. May I? Oh, hello there. Huh? What?
Hello, sir. Please, pick a card.
What's this all about? Huh? Is this one okay?
Excellent. I have a message for you. The last hand is about to be played. You'll need a trump card to make it.
A turnabout trump card?
Ah.
A trump card?
The card you have chosen is magical. Use it wisely, and the game is yours. That's all.
Ace. Where do I remember that card from?
Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces, and Mr. Wright's 2. It is 5 aces in all. It is true. I have seen it. The 5th ace. There was cheating, I swear to you.
The missing 5th ace. Wait, splashed red. Is this blood?
You have your trump card, and now it's up to you to cut the deck and draw the truth. My father's fate is in your hand. I know you can do it.
Trucy is adorable, by the way. This bloodstained card is my trump card for finding the truth. Fell deep in thought as my mind raced to understand what that's all meant. Girl, I'd seen her recently, but where? And that's when I made the connection.
Little babby trucy.
Bloody Ace was added to the court record. The court will now reconvene. Defense Attorney Christoph Gavin, will you please take the stand? Now then, if you would, Mr. Payne.
Yes, Your Honor. The witness will state his name and occupation.
Is this far necessary, Your Honor? Believe me, far stranger things have gone on in this courtroom.
Watched a horrible evil woman get exorcised out of Maya Fey last time we were in this courtroom. Who I still stand by would not last very long in a Danganronpa game because he's a terrible liar and cracks under her even the slightest bit of pressure and can only manipulate people who are weak of wills. Fine. I'll play along. And I will debate that. I don't think Dahlia Hawthorne would last long in a Danganronpa game, because she can manipulate people with her, cutesy feminine and wiles. But think about the only people that she was able to fully manipulate being a young, naive, and impressionable Phoenix, and a man who very clearly had pretty heavy mental disability in Terry Falls, to the point that he was basically a giant child. Every other person in who she attempted that on did not work. And the only reason she didn't get put away is because as Terry Falls killed himself on the stand. Like, she was about to get caught, and Terry took his own life on the stand. I fully stand by that. She wouldn't be the first one caught, but she would be, at the very least, she would be the second or third gone, because someone would either your sidekick or you would pick up on the fact that she is clearly lying through her teeth because she's a terrible liar, and then she would crack. I'm not saying she'd be the first gone, but she'd be gone early.
First, there's one thing we need to have made clear. How did you know about the secret beneath the victim's hat?
By secret, I assume he means the fact that Mr. Smith was bald. Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing. She did commit an actual crime. She murdered Valerie. It was, and pinned it on Terry, and almost got away with it. It's just a case of when the defendant dies on the stand, it's hard to continue a court case. She committed the actual murder. It was just a case of because Terry is a giant child. Alden didn't know how to deal with the fact that Dahlia was in fact an evil, cruel person. You wanna pet the Nightbot? Okay. By secret, forgive my curiosity, but what is it about this fellow's head?
that Your Honor seems to have an inordinate interest in.
Objection!
I would. Ooh. Ooh, that's some good music. Ooh.
I mean, that chef was the first, literally the first one who,
That's some good Sam Riegel objection right there.
But yeah, that chef was literally the first one who committed murder and then was caught and killed. Killed, quote unquote. Because of the weird plot line of, DR2. Because in the anime of questionable quality, they're all okay now.
I wouldn't call it inordinate, Mr. Gavin.
Mr. Wright?
What do you think you're doing, right? Things sure look different from the other side. You know what I mean, Apollo? Speaking of looking from the other side, let's consider something for a second. The victim wore a hat all night. Never once taking it off, except that one time. That one time. Being the instant he was hit? Oh. When Mr. Wright returned from reporting the crime, the hat was lying on the floor. Mr. Wright picked it up and placed it on the victim's head. In other words, in order to have seen Mr. Smith's bald head, you would have had to have been there in the hideout at the time of the crime. In other words, I must be the real killer? Is that what you're trying to say? Not bad, Apollo. Mr. Gavin? I'm afraid that I haven't been entirely honest with the court.
What?
Oh, I assure you, I had the noblest of intentions. I did it all to protect my client, Mr. Wright. And yet, I'm afraid, in the current situation, I see little reason to hide anything. Very well, allow me to tell the truth of what happened that night. Finally, you may begin your testimony.
Judge being like, get on with it!
Tell us, how were you involved with the events of that fateful night? The rage I sensed from that man that night troubled me, so I returned to the club. I went down to the basement and peeked in through the little window into the hideout. Must have been right after the murder took place. The victim was dead, as he appears in the photo. A bald head, an unconscious girl, and Wright holding a bottle in his hand. I sensed that was not the best place for me to be at the time, and so I left. That's when the call came from Wright.
So you witnessed the murder?
For better or worse, I missed the actual moment of the deed. Mr. Gavin, may I remind you that you are on Mr. Wright's defense team. Your testimony is clearly disadvantageous to your client. What else could I say? I'm standing on the witness stand after all. So you are, Mr. Gavin. And you had to testify, as you just did. You had to tell him you saw the scene of the crime through that little window. Mr. Wright? You had to say that. Because that was the only probable window of opportunity, right, Apollo? Oh! Mr. Wright, the defendant should do the cross-examination, not the defendant. Mr. Justice, are you prepared?
Yes, Your Honor.
I can't believe I'm going up against Mr. Gavin.
This trial is getting weirder and weirder.
for any like little weird little movements.
It was you, Dad. I learned it from watching you.
Hold it!
That man? You mean Mr. Smith? He was different from the other customers. His aura, shall we say. I don't think that was a reference. Probably just a coincidence. But I don't know. I don't know what was going through the English localization team at Capcom that night. I knew he was a serious poker player, but it was more than that. Kinda? I don't know, that's a pretty obscure reference. Some random anti-drug like ad from the early 2000s. I will gladly reference it, but I don't know if that's what Capcom had in mind. Of course, but I also knew he wasn't engaged in gambling, which would be illegal. It makes sense that he'd know. They were friends after all. Worried with my friend, I returned to the club. You see, I feared that Mr. Smith might be someone coming to settle an old score. I see what happened then. Doesn't seem something about that one. It doesn't seem right. You mean the one you used to keep watch up the stairs? Yes, a relic of the ancient past. The black marketers used it, I believe. But why did you go through the trouble of peeking through the window? Wouldn't it have been easier to just open the door and go into the room? I didn't want to upset Wright, you see. Upset Mr. Wright? Yes, what if my fears had been unfounded? I'd be walking in on their match. Bad form, to say the least. So far he's saying, everything he's saying makes sense. Okay, just making sure. You can see the window in the photo just fine. Those were the only three at the scene of the crime? Yes, as far as I saw, at least.
Then we're back to where we started. The killer was the defendant, Phoenix Wright. Who else could it have been? Then why didn't you talk to the police?
2 reasons. First, I didn't actually witness the very moment of the crime. Second, my office was asked to defend right. Even after seeing what I had seen, I couldn't abandon my friend.
Objection!
There must have been someone else there at the moment of the crime. Justice, I just said I saw no one, not a soul. But that goes against what Mr. Wright said. Ah yes, this mysterious 4th person. Who would conveniently be the real killer, I suppose. Glad to see we agree, Mr. Gavin. Let me pose a question then. Tell me, what possible reason did the real killer have to swap the card that's in the victim's hand? Perhaps you can show us the reason why such a thing would be necessary? How can I show something I can't find myself? Remember, Apollo, the card that was swapped out was the 5th ace. The 5th ace, right! Well, Mr. Justice, the question of why the killer would swap the card has been raised. Can you point to a reason? Let's show some evidence. The defense would like to present evidence to the court. Evidence showing the reason why the card was swapped out. Go ahead and point to your reason, Mr. Justice. Why did the killer take the 5th ace?
Take that!
The reason is, this. Is that an ace?
Why, it's got blood on it. Right next to the spade. What?
This is insane. Why wasn't I told about this? Why?
Could this be? Could this be the missing 5th ace? Inconceivable. How could you? What are you doing with that card?
Well, that's the thing. Why is Mr. Gavin so upset? Just a fishy card from some fishy girl. Oh, that card, it's mine. That is, I picked it up at the Borschtball Club that night after the murder occurred. I gave it to my daughter. Cards are her stock and trade after all. No, impossible, unacceptable. The court can't accept this evidence. It's a fraud. Fraud? How can you be so sure? What? I would think the only person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the scene. The real killer. Allow me to elaborate. What if this trace of blood was the reason?
The reason for?
The killer to take the card from the scene of the crime.
Where are you going with this?
Take another look at the photo and see at the victim's head. At the moment of the crime, his hat fell to the floor, and a trickle of blood ran from his forehead down to the back of his head. Couldn't a drop of blood have fallen on one of the cards?
I suppose.
The killer then looked to hide the blood.
Objection!
The card with blood. Regardless, that evidence is non-permissible. Oh, right. Regardless of how you wasted the last 7 years, you used to be a lawyer. You know that it is a serious crime, or you know what a serious crime it is to conceal evidence. Oh, we can discuss the finer points of our legal system later. What's important now is that I've answered your question. What are you talking about? You wanted to know why the killer would have taken a card from the crime scene. And now, I've told you. That one drop of blood would have been decisive evidence, see? This is baseless conjecture. Baseless! Ayy! Hold up, I gotta get... We're just gonna put some objection points up in that. Oh, I assure you, it's quite based. Based? Based on what? What?
It's amazing, really, how a single drop of blood on a single card can lead us to the truth. It's quite simple. Well, Apollo? Yes? Try picturing the scene of the crime. Yeah, in your head. Yep, this was a Nintendo DS game, alright. The murder took place in the hideout. The body of the luckless victim was found under the poker table, and before the killer swapped the card out, there was a single card with a drop of blood on the victim's hand. Given this, there is one decisive problem with this scene. Well, what is it?
Let's keep it simple, shall we? Given that there was a drop of blood on a card, whose position in this diagram doesn't fit? The victims, the killers, the witnesses. The second witnesses. Whose position doesn't fit with the bloody card? Well, if the... because all the cards would be on the table. So I'd say the victim.
Take that!
Well, isn't it the victim's position that's the problem?
I don't follow your logic here, Mr. Justice.
Oh, look, the victim was struck on the head, sending him back in his chair. You'd think any blood would fall behind the body, not onto the table in front of him. Ugh. Take a look at the photo again. If he bled in this position, the blood would fall onto the floor, not on the cards.
Oh, that's right.
So what does this mean? Incidentally, we were sitting in swivel chairs. Swivel chairs? Oh man. Apollo, try turning the chair around. Yep, this is a Nintendo DS game, alright.
The chair was facing the other way?
It would have to be. Look at that crisp Nintendo DS 3D graphics. The victim's chair was facing away from the table.
Did Mr. Wright return from informing the police? Which way was the chair facing?
When I came back to the room, the body was facing as seen in this photo. That would mean the killer turned the chair back around. Take the next step. Look at the diagram once more. We know now the victim was facing away from the table at the time of the murder. But this creates another significant contradiction.
Again?
Let's test your reasoning skills again, shall we? Apollo, whose location on this diagram contradicts our new understanding of the crime? I'd assume the second witness. Or the killer? Whose location creates the contradiction? Yes.
Take that!
Yeah, killer, I think? The victim was struck from the front, correct? Indeed. Well, wouldn't it be hard for the killer to hit him from the front? Sitting where he is, or sitting where his indicator currently is? I would think it'd be quite hard, yes.
Yes, but what you're saying makes no sense. Why would the victim suddenly turn to face the wall? Well, in the middle of a game.
I believe a sufficient reason will soon come to light.
What?
There's something in this diagram that makes far less sense, actually. Look again at the diagram. Apollo, if the victim was struck while he was sitting as shown here, Where would his assailant be standing? Huh? But there's no room to put a mark. Don't worry. Let's think it through and see what we find. We know the victim was facing toward the wall at the time of the crime. It's the only thing we know for sure. Try to forget about everything else. I mean, it'd have to be here.
Take that!
The killer had to be standing, well, here.
You get points for flair, but that's about all you get.
I thought I was onto something there too.
I hardly need to point out that standing there would be impossible. The victim is facing a solid cupboard. Or are you claiming the killer climbed in the cupboard and hit him from above?
Simple logic, really. This was the only place the killer could have been standing. And that means that at the very moment of the crime... Wait, I know! At the moment of the crime, the cupboard wasn't there.
What's this now?
And that's the only explanation, right, Mr. Gavin? I feel like his glasses should be, like, a bit more white. Because it looks less like it's the like, you know, anime, like, glare. And more like he just doesn't have eyes. Your Honor, I have a suggestion for the defense. We should arrange to examine the cupboard in the hideout immediately.
Bailiff, send a team to the crime scene immediately. Try and have them move the cupboard.
Ah, Your Honor. What? One more thing your men should look for. Please give this to the bailiff.
Yes, I see. You do belong in the courtroom after all, Mr. Wright.
I do my best. Let's forge ahead while we wait. The diagram once again. It's been changed. The killer was standing here at the time of the crime. This cupboard wasn't here. Which means, Apollo, try moving the cupboard. Out, blocking the window. Thank you. As you can see, cupboard was the problem. At the time of the murder, it has to have been shown as here. Now everything is in place to reconstruct the moment of the crime. Oh my, what's this?
What is it now?
Look at the diagram of the crime scene once more. Appears we found yet another contradiction. What I believe to be the final contradiction, in fact. Huh? Oh, dang! Notice something, Apollo? Our line of deduction is rapidly approaching its logical conclusion.
Now then, Mr. Justice, please point to the contradiction and indicate it. Is it the victim, the killer, the witness, the second witness?
It'd be the second witness.
Take that!
About this cupboard. Are we all okay with assuming it was moved? Sure, why not? Well, if it was, something doesn't fit. The cupboard would completely cover up the window to the stairs. Ah! That's right. Someone standing outside wouldn't be able to see in. Someone like Mr. Gavin. What? What did you say? Oh, the coolest defense in the West, losing is cool. I'd be curious what this line was in the original Japanese, given that they are, you know, in Japan in the original Japanese. And the anime only went as far as the first game, so... Don't expect me to play your little game, right? only a game until someone gets killed, Mr. Gavin. Someone was. While the window to that room was blocked by a cupboard. So, Mr. Gavin, perhaps you'd like to explain to the court. Exactly where did you witness the crime scene from? Yeah. Excuse me, Your Honor. Order! This is a court of law and I will have order. We just received word from our investigation team at the Borscht Bowl Club. They've examined the cupboard in the hideout, Your Honor. Oh? And what did they find? Well, Your Honor, it turns out there's a secret passage behind it. What? Ah, yes, I believe I mentioned something on the start before. This is one of the tricks many of our regulars know about. I do remember him saying something about that now that he mentions it. A secret passage is handy when you're engaged in illegal goings-on. Never know when you might need to duck away from the eyes of the law. So the room has a secret passage. Where does it go? The other side connects to the restaurant above. The underworld bosses can get away from the cops. And enjoy a cold bowl of borscht, no doubt. Just like our killer. You see where our line of simple deductive reasoning has led us, Apollo? I see it, but I don't believe it. The girl wasn't kidding when she said I needed this trump card for the last hand. Just believe in the heart of the cards, obviously. At the time of the murder, the window was blocked and the victim's hat was only off his head for the few minutes between Mr. Smith's murder and Mr. Wright's return from calling the cops. I mean, he could go back to the Borscht Bowl Club to chill, given that they have an authentic Mother Russia experience. Which frankly sounds horrible to me. In other words, the only place anyone could have seen the victim's bald head was from inside the hideout. Well, Mr. Gavin, come on, say something. Dare I ask what really happened that night? Actually, I think we could probably figure it out ourselves at this point. That night, for whatever reason, our killer had a date with Mr. Smith. A date with destiny. I wouldn't. I hate the cold. And I go inside restaurants to not be cold. I go in restaurants for a temperature controlled, good, even, comfortable temperature. Oh. I just realized my chat box is actually working. I don't think I ever got that widget to work. Jeez Louise. There he crouched, hidden and in the secret passageway behind the cupboard, holding his breath, waiting for just the right moment. Then the chance came, and he took it. Miss Olga Orley was out cold, struck by Mr. Smith. But his time was soon to come. Mr. Wright went upstairs to call the cops. Last cross-examination was the one against Gavin. Leaving Mr. Shoddy Smith alone in the hideout with the unconscious dealer. It was that fateful night. Then, our killer stepped out from the passage and into the hideout. The victim must have heard the cupboard sliding aside. He wheeled his chair around to look, and after the deed was done, the criminal must have seen blood on the card. He would have, of course, realized the need to destroy the evidence. A single spot of blood had told the whole story of the crime. Too bad for him, he didn't linger any longer in the hideout that night. If he had, he might have noticed the cards on the floor. And the fact that they were all red.
Well, it seems this trial has taken yet another turn. Truly, I'm sorry I had to see this day come, Mr. Gavin.
Mr. Gavin?
Mr. Payne?
Yes, Your Honor.
The prosecution will continue its investigation. As for Mr. Phoenix Wright, the defendant, he is hereby cleared of all suspicion. Believe me when I say that I don't believe this is happening, Mr. Gavin. But I'm afraid circumstances call for me to issue a warrant for your arrest immediately.
Court record. What's up? Chat log. History. Where it mentions fate? Or this one where it's like a date with destiny? Yeah. What about it? Okay. Well, in the meantime, I'm going to continue.
But I'm afraid circumstances call for me to issue a warrant for your arrest immediately.
Objection!
Oh, no need to apologize. Oh, never mind. Yeah, okay. I rather enjoyed myself. It's not every day you get to witness the legendary attorney's dirty tactics firsthand. Good point, Mr. Gavin. Frankly, Your Honor, I'm shocked. A person of your caliber would be taken in by such a low-grade parlor trick. Excuse me? The defendant is clear of all suspicion. This is hardly a time for jokes, Your Honor. Mr. Wright hasn't proven anyone's guilt or innocence here. What he has done is use illegal evidence to put the blame on someone else. Not just anyone else, but me, his own defense attorney. Illegal evidence? Let me ask you, Mr. Gavin. Is there still any reason at present to suspect me of wrongdoing? Of
course, this bottle, for instance. The bottle of grape juice Mr. Wright was drinking? How do you intend to explain away the fingerprints on the murder weapon? Not just any fingerprints, am I right, Mr. Payne?
Oh, actually, yes. The fingerprints on the bottle were upside down.
I seem to recall this being an issue earlier. The court in this case demand an explanation. I can think of the only reason one would hold the bottle upside down, and that is to hit someone and with the bottom of the bottle. Well, Your Honor? Ah. See how the codfish squirms to the last. Well, Apollo? Yes? Your boss seems awfully concerned about this bottle still. Sure you can come up with a suitable explanation. Just like that. Yeah, just like what? Why would anyone grab the bottle upside down other than to... Don't let him trick you into thinking his explanation is the only legitimate one. Is there really another? Take another look at the court record. I believe you'll find a simple answer there. In plain sight. How about you just say the answer in plain words? It would be hasty to declare a verdict with unanswered questions indeed. Well, Mr. Justice? Mr. Gavin said the court and this case demand an explanation. Don't worry, Justice. Don't worry. Justice won't leave until justice is done. Perhaps the defense would care to enlighten the court? What evidence do you have to explain the fingerprints on the bottle are upside down? If I have a way to look at... Would that be it? Oh, wait, yeah, I think this is it. Because I feel like this is the only time that this hasn't been brought up. But yeah, the way that those bottles are, he'd have to grab it from the top. Like, you reach down and grab, yeah, I'm gonna say that's it.
Take that!
It's actually easier to show you than explain, Your Honor. Place that bottle on the floor next to your chair. Excuse me, on the floor? Yes, now reach down and pick it up. Without getting out of your chair. See? You naturally go and pick the bottle up by its neck. With your fingers upside down. Look at this photograph taken on the night of the murder. The defendant, Mr. Wright, sat here, playing piano, bottles of grape juice on the floor, or to the side of his piano bench. He would have naturally picked up the bottle. It was upside down several times. Wow, I can't believe it was that simple. Recall our dinner that evening, Christoph? I was drinking my usual juice then too. Basically, you used the bottle on the table to do the deed. Then you must have remembered. So you went and picked one up. Picked up one of the bottles from under the piano, and you switched the bottles. You took the one, like one of Mr. Wright's bottles, and made it look like the murder weapon. Order, order, order. What do you have to say to these charges, Mr. Gavin? Fascinating. So this is the legendary attorney's famed tactic of misdirection. What? You claim that I switched the bottle. Where is your proof? Proof? Well, that's, as I thought, more baseless conjecture. I think your bottle of proof is quite empty.
Wouldn't be so sure about that. Your Honor, when you initiated the investigation of the hideout earlier, do you recall I requested an additional investigation?
Oh yes, so I have your memo about that here. Retrieve the bottles from under the piano at the Borscht Boat Club. And here's one of the bottles in question.
What, are you going to dust that for fingerprints too? I would be surprised if any were on that but his. Mr. Gavin probably wouldn't make such an obvious mistake, true. Apollo won't bear a trace of anything. Say, Apollo. Yes? Why don't you go ahead and examine that bottle? But why? Just humor me. Mr. Wright. I think that bottle will solve this case once and for all. What? Some bottle? I'm already seeing it through the other side. Yep. A crumpled up 5 of hearts. There's something inside the bottle. I am going to assume they use like tweezers or something because there's no way you're sticking your fingers down that to get that card out. What's this? A card. It can't be. Call that unpleasant woman's testimony for a moment. Miss Olga Orley? Yes, our swindling Dvořáčka. At night, I planted the card like I was supposed to. And right lost the last hand, just like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched him. But the planted card was gone. The trap failed. Wait. Isn't this... You're telling me that the planted card you disposed of? The one you mentioned in this piece of testimony. I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found a card. Yeah, I snuck a peek at it, found it was the 5 of hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, and so I disposed of the card before the game. Disposed? What? There's an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle. Yeah, it's just like, yeah. Trust me on this. You're gonna want to see this. The 5 of hearts. Or the 5 of hearts. This is the card. Bottles were swapped. And the only one that could have done... And that was the 4th person in the club that night. You, Mr. Christoph Gavin. Oh. A poor lobster. Did no one pick up the borscht? I just left those dishes on the floor. That is all. Seriously. Is this your idea of revenge, Phoenix Wright?
Revenge?
Revenge for the events that took away your attorney's badge 7 years ago? My past is like my logic. Straight and true. Nothing's changed. All I did was point the finger of justice in the proper direction. Fine. I'm glad we could have this little tete-a-tete. I think that's how that's pronounced. Right. You probably should be giving this guy a French accent. He's been using some French terms. That's fine. I think the prosecutor's a lot more openly French.
This is insane. What about me? Don't I get to prosecute anyone?
Oh, shut up, Payne. No one likes you.
I believe this time we've finally come to the end of our trial.
I wish I could forget, but I'm going to be seeing that haircut in my nightmares.
Mr. Payne, do you have a report for us on Christoph Gavin?
He's admitted everything. We're processing his arrest now.
I see. Still, one has to wonder why he would do such a thing. He didn't even have a connection to the victim, did he?
None that we know of.
Mr. Wright, have you anything to add?
Afraid I can't shed any more light on the matter.
About this victim, Mr. Sholly Smith. His occupation is listed as traveler. An odd profession, to be sure, and that's all we know about him.
I'll arrange for a follow-up investigation, Your Honor.
Good. Mr. Wright?
Yes?
7 years, and you still haven't lost your touch. Christoph Gavin.
Now, Christoph Gavin was a man with much significance for me, both as a friend and a lawyer.
He was extremely talented, to be sure.
I needed 2 things before I could confront him. I mean, it makes sense. He's only ever used in each game's tutorial case. So, compared to literally every other character, and then you're only going to see him once per game. I think the only exception that he shows up in another case that I know of for certain is, he shows up very briefly in Case 3 of Trials and Tribulations. When, like, it shows Maggie Bird getting the false guilty accusation because of Tigray posing as you, which still annoys me, but won't get into it. First was a place where no injustice could be tolerated, this courtroom. The second was a man who would tolerate no injustice. In other words, a defense attorney. You, Apollo. Me? This is a dark time for our legal system. A twisting of justice brought on by our very own initial trial system. We have to set it right. Mr. Wright. Our work lies ahead of us, and I, for one, am looking forward to it.
Well, this seems like a good time to announce a verdict. This court finds the defendant, Mr. Phoenix Wright.
And there's our very first not guilty.
Court is adjourned.
So I'm curious, why are you glaring at Miles? Because it doesn't make sense for Miles to have less lines than Payne, given that he's a pretty consistent thing, at least in the original trilogy, and has an entire case devoted to him. I will say, I think the only person that I can think of off the top of my head that might have... No. Because there's the Canadian judge that shows up a whopping twice in the entire series. For the one thing in Game 3... where he's the judge presiding over the Terry Falls case in Mia's flashback, and then he shows up for the first case day in the final case because Edgeworth needed a judge that wouldn't recognize him as not being a defense attorney to preside over the first day. And then he doesn't show up again because apparently he got sick, and our normal judge comes back once Phoenix retakes the reins. Thanks, Apollo. You came through, just like I thought you would. Pretty sure I didn't do a thing in there. It's you who cornered Mr. Killer. Couldn't have done it by myself. You sensed it too today, didn't you? Your ability. Ability? Yeah. A sensitivity I lack. You'll come to understand it soon enough. I wonder if he means... I have one question for the witness, then. Say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is this true? Of course it's true. What's this weird vibe I'm getting? What was that, Mr. Wright? You'll have to find the answer to that question yourself. The answer. Right. Today was full of questions without answers. Most of them about Mr. Gavin. What possible reason could he have to commit murder? Perhaps you'll learn that in the days to come. Huh? Wait, you don't know? Or... Wait, you don't know, do you? This locket is the key. Huh? Oh, that reminds me. I met the girl whose picture is in your locket. Your daughter, right? Right, she's my daughter. You know, you were right about this locket. I took it off his neck the night he died. But it looks like our dear Russian scam artist saw me. So the truth is, this locket really did belong to him. Wait, but that's perjury! You testified! You said that locket was yours! I said no such thing, actually. Huh? I merely said it was a locket with my daughter's picture inside. A subtle distinction, but a distinction nonetheless. The best kind of distinction. And it's the truth. Wait, then why? Why was the victim wearing a picture, or wearing a locket with a picture of your daughter inside it? Sometimes the straightest path to the truth isn't the best one. Give it time. You're still just getting started with your career. Speaking of which, I may be out of the job. I work for Gavin Law Offices after all. I still can't believe I just saw Mr. Gavin get led away in handcuffs. Apollo? Yes? How about coming to work for me? Eh? You mean at the Wright & Co. Law Offices? I mean, there's not a single attorney in my generation who doesn't know it. I can't imagine that to be true, but... Wait, you didn't you? You're not a... Oh, I turned in my badge, yes. I'm not an attorney anymore. That incident 7 years ago. That legendary trial. And at the middle of it all was one man. Phoenix Wright. The case reached a sad conclusion, and he left law for good. Have you ever thought about coming back to the courts? I'm not qualified to stand in a court of law, I'm afraid. Didn't you notice in today's trial? There was a single piece of forged evidence. Forged evidence? What are you talking about? Talking about the evidence that shouldn't have existed. Naughty magician's trick. One piece of evidence struck me as odd, it's true. It just seemed all too perfect. I'll bet that this was the forged evidence. That card.
Take that!
You mean this, don't you? I got this from your daughter, Mr. Wright. Yes, that card couldn't have been found at the crime scene. Why? Because the killer took it with him when he left. Leaving the wrong card in its place, luckily for us. Court can't accept this evidence. It's a fraud. Fraud? How can you be so sure?
I would think only one person who could claim... Yeah, the one person that could claim it as fraud would be the person who took the real card from the crime scene. The real killer. My verdict was already handed down 7 years ago. Then you really? Yes, I forged this card. One look at the crime scene should have told you it wasn't real. But you can't do something like that. And call yourself an attorney. Who's calling themselves an attorney, Apollo? So it's true. The rumor is true. 7 years ago. None of that matters much now, does it? Ugh. I punched him. It's your story from here on out, Apollo. Perhaps I can help you turn the next page. My office's address. Drop in if you like. Mr. Wright. And about your uppercut. Try yelling, "Take that!" next time. Find it packs a little more punch. And Apollo, thanks for today. I had a good time. Phoenix. What happened? I already know what happened. I've played this game before. It was forever ago, but I still remember plot points. Just not gameplay. With that, Mr. Wright walked out the door. And that's how my first trial ended. A lot of mysteries went unsolved. And at the time, I had no idea that they were all related. Every mystery that day, connected by a single thread of logic. I'd find that out soon enough. My name is Apollo Justice, attorney at law. And this is how my story begins. And I do believe that is where we are going to call it for the night. We have been at this for almost 3.5 hours. I knew it was like, just one trial day. It won't be too long. No. These games are dense. They can fit a lot into a single trial day. But holy cow, I am so glad to be back in the courtroom. I love these games. I have been sitting and waiting for this basically since the day it was announced. So, it is real great to be back. For now, it is very much time to call it for the evening. I will see about streaming tomorrow. I am DMing some Dungeons and Dragons. And boy howdy, does this game make my voice tired. So I'll have to consider whether or not I want to. We'll see. I'll put a tweet out on Twitter and Blue Sky when I decide. But for now, it is very much time to call it. And let's see who there is to rod. No, she's not running it. Playing right now. Don't mind me, just trying to find something. I need to pick someone. Oh, yeah, actually, yeah. Let's send. See if they are going live right now. I think they are.
Apparently they are not, right? That didn't seem to last long. Okay, I was gonna raid my friend Pup, but they apparently have gone offline now. That was not a very long stream for them. Oh, never mind. It says please ignore. I guess they were testing some stuff. Sure, let's send one over to one Aeon Protect Gaming, aka Mark Allen Jr. He's a good bean, playing some Lethal Company. Yes, maybe be back tomorrow, maybe not. Will depend on whether if I do stream tomorrow, it'll probably be earlier in the day, just because I am DMing and I don't know how long that's gonna go, but we'll figure it out. But until then, you guys have a great rest of the night. I will talk to you guys later. Goodbye.